All right, it's good to see everybody. Sorry I cleaned my glasses once and it didn't help, so I'm gonna clean them again. Well, we're here, and the world's still turning. Maybe it'll quit this week. I hope. Maybe somebody will blow us up. We'll be very fortunate if people don't understand that among believers, that I'm talking about true believers, that we long to be out of here, especially after being around a while. I know there's young people here that don't want to leave yet. You hadn't got your wife yet, and your husband yet, and your car yet, and your kids yet, and your bills yet, and your ulcer yet, and your heart attack yet.
All the stuff we look forward to.
Get your heart attack, and then you'll say, well, I think Jim was right. Isn't that true? It's funny how you feel when you get older as compared to how you feel when you're younger. When you're young, you look at old people and say, I ain't never going to feel that way. And yes, you are. I used to say, I'm different when I was young. I won't be like them. And I got, like that comedian said, he said, I went out and bought a dishwasher and a washer and dryer. I'm becoming my mother and father, you know. And that's what we do. We become our mothers and fathers. All right. We always begin by reading to you. We are on TV in a couple of hundred towns and cities, everywhere from Los Angeles and San Diego all the way up to New York, down to Atlanta and up in Minnesota and out in Washington State, out in Seattle and down all over Texas and Tulsa and Oklahoma. And why didn't somebody tell me I had spots on my shirt? Somebody tell me? Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. All right, now. And we got a letter from David Rogery. David was our representative in Houston. He moved up to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now he's our representative up there. And him and Christina. Hello all. I hope everything is according to God's will. David is a French guy that lived in France all of his life and then moved over here. He talks like a Frenchman. I wonder why. I hope everything is according to God's will. I am sure it is, and that you are well and in the narrow way. Christina and I just welcomed in our family another child, a big baby boy named Mattis, which is a French variant of the name Matthew, gift of God. He was born on Monday, the 26th of December. He and Christina are healthy and recovering at home. He was 9 pounds, 2 ounces, and 21 inches long. We are truly happy to have now 4 children, 3 girls and a boy. We continue thanking God for everything. We have been through a lot so far this year and still do. This is God's will, whether we like it or not. I should say, whether we are understanding it or not. Everything works together for good to them that love God. We are now more able to fellowship with a group from Staten Island at John's house since we are north of Philly. Sometimes they make the trip to our apartment. It is always great times that we cannot get enough of. It definitely strengthens us, the church, and cannot be more thankful to God to allow us to partake of it. We continue praying that God helps all sheep and leads us according to His will. His will be done. In agape, Christina and David. Any calls from Philly area since we are on the TV show? Yes, definitely. And then he's got pictures of his babies there.
That baby was born September, not December.
Did I say December?
Yes.
I'm sorry. September, not December. Okay. And then Paulo Valenti writes to us. He's in Staten Island. Dear brother and sister, this is Paulo Valenti. That sounds like a movie producer to me. Maybe I was thinking of Jack Valenti or something. From 138 Cruiser Street, Staten Island, New York. Please put the audio tapes on hold until further notice. We are in the process of moving, and I will have a new address. Thanks again for your effort in getting the truth out. We love you, brother. Keep listening. And Josiah Hill. Good name. I like that, Josiah. Dear Jim Brown, Grace and Truth Ministries, I've been enjoying some of the recordings of your teachings that are on YouTube. Being able to hear you dig into the meanings of the words is refreshing to my understanding of Scripture, and I think Holy Spirit is using you to teach truth. I hope so, since the Spirit is the truth. That our generation has forgotten, since I have been blessed to receive more complete understanding by your ministry. Y'all excuse me. I'm sorry, I've got bronchitis, but I can't help it. That's right. That's true. It's not my fault. Yes, it is, too. Perhaps it would be permissible for me to offer some other findings that you have added to me. I hear what you are saying about Christmas being a pagan festival. We in my family grew up shunning most involvement in popular Christmas activities, believing it to be garbage. To celebrate Christmas in the spirit of that pagan understanding would, of course, be wrong. However, the things of God are eternal. He supplants all other systems. He takes back ground that has been stolen. We've got to be very careful with those words. That's very Pentecostal in sound. He comes before all the paganism today, and whatever paganism there is can only draw from his great creation. Satan takes good things God has made and perverts them. It's his very nature. Satan can't stop the heavens from declaring the glory of God. Therefore, I was astounded but enjoyed it when I discovered there is convincing evidence that a first Christmas happened on December the 25th. That's an absolute lie. Now, you really haven't heard enough about this. I know you probably don't understand this, but it's not true. We can look at the sky above Jerusalem and Bethlehem and see the sign of the star that God has ordained. What was happening in Luke, the 2nd chapter, and Matthew, the 2nd chapter, was not Christmas. Christmas is Christ's Mass. It's Roman Catholicism. People think I don't know that there's a Luke 2 and a Matthew 2 in the Bible. It's there, but it's not Christmas. It's the birth of Christ. The birth of Christ has nothing to do with Christmas. See, the sign of God had ordained from the foundation of the world during Jesus' conception, birth, visitation by the wise men. That doesn't have anything to do with Christmas. Christmas is not his birth. It's not December the 25th. From the east with exact accuracy, the computer software produces not a guess, but an accurate representation of the actual sky. We're not talking about what's happening in the sky, and it was on December the 25th. The shepherds did not go into the fields after the second rains, which first rains would come in September and the others would come the following month or so. They didn't usually stay out there. They certainly didn't stay out there in the cold fields. That's just not true. Besides that, Christmas is Christ's Mass. It's the Baal worship of the Old Testament. That's where you find Christmas, not Jesus' birthday. And we can see that the star indeed stood and declared to the Magi where to find the newborn king. The newborn king, Jesus, has nothing to do with Christmas. Christmas is paganism. It's Roman Catholicism. If I had any money, I would mail you my last copy of the video describing this. You can describe the birth of Jesus and the stars and the lining in the stars and all of this, but you're not describing Christmas. Christmas is Baal in the grove, and it's the birthday of the unconquerable Son. This fellow's going to need to listen to more of what... I've probably got 500 messages on Christmas. It is Israel's paganism. It's what Israel went after. It was the pagan system of Baal and Grove that Israel became involved in, and later on Constantine brought in the church. It was the Feast of Saturn. But gosh, how can you tell somebody that? I'm not saying this man is lying. I'm saying what you're listening to is a lie. Don't listen to that. Then Ron Steele writes to us from Asheville, North Carolina. Greetings, Jim and family. It's been too long since I got to visit. I was in a head-on car wreck over 1 3/4 years and haven't been able to work. So I've been blessed by going through much fire. The fire is good. I've received your DVDs before and still watch them every day, but I haven't received them in quite some time. We would like to get back on the list as they have helped me understand much. Thanks. I share with others whenever possible. Ron Steele, Asheville, North Carolina. We love you, brother. Phyllis Teal. My husband and I have just listened to a part of program 2827. We were blessed in hearing this message. Could you send us a DVD of this program? Please send it to John Teal in Vidor, Texas. I know where that is, right outside of Beaumont. And we will do that. Send you plenty of DVDs if you want them. Then Peggy Lancaster from Salem, Virginia writes, Mr. Brown, I'm just a student from afar. I'm a firm believer in Isaiah 28:10, for precept must be upon precept, line upon line, little here a little, there a little. What that's talking about is Assyria coming in and slaughtering Israel, a little here and a little there. And you got a little bit of Babylon coming in, and when he goes on to say who's going to teach knowledge to Israel, and then he goes into the Syrian war chariots coming in and slaughter them just immediately thereafter. When you hear somebody say line upon line, precept on precept, and what's her face over there in Chattanooga teaches her precept classes. Who am I talking about? What's her name?
Kay Arthur.
Kay Arthur, yeah. The woman, she'll read a verse and then paraphrase it. Read a verse and paraphrase it. And Jesus said, God loved the world so much that he gave his, after she quotes it, then she'll go through it and say the English words over again, then she'll go to the next verse. And she calls that precept classes. Don't care for Kay Arthur. Concerning Galatians 3:16-17, there's an approximate 430 covenant years from Abraham until Exodus using Hebrew calendar spring to spring. This time in many religious circles is counted for the time God first appeared to Abraham, then 400 years. Year generations begins with Isaac. I think I may be totally wrong. I think that's funny. Let me give you some information. I may be totally wrong. There could be a Bible translation error. No. Because we don't understand every word doesn't mean there's error. It means we don't understand it yet. Because the verses read me, Abraham being a stranger and sojourner in the land of promise, Abraham's seed would become slaves while dwelling in the land of Egypt. Because of the commas of these verses, doesn't seem to read that the whole 430-year seed would be the slaves in Egypt. Well, that's another whole subject. It's a lot to it. I preached some on that Wednesday night. He's going into a lot of things. I'll just come back. Or she. I'll send you some material. And it's just, I'm not going to get into discussing theological complexities right now. Tony Orkin writes to us from Tucson, Arizona. Jimmer and family, the President of the United States at this time is our 44th president. Coincidence, first name, Barak. Changed name means in Greek lightning, in Hebrew military commander. Coincidence. The President of the United States is in charge of our military. He's trying to get in a bunch of... I've been a Christian 33 years. I have heard about the end of time from my first days as a Christian. I personally have never been overly concerned about the man of sin or who he is. Oprah Winfrey announced this man as the one before he became president. I personally believe that the signs of the times are starting to reveal to us. In the last generation, this message that you teach and preach about must be stored in our hearts. I believe with all my heart that when they take away our Bibles, we will have to do what early Christians did, hide in catacombs and share with one another from God's commands in our hearts. In other words, his word or truth. I have one question. What is the difference between the man of sin, the son of perdition, and the Antichrist? Well, there are many Antichrists. Son of perdition was the title given to the man of sin at the end of time, and also to Judas Iscariot in that 17th chapter of John. And there's many Antichrists. Whoever denies Christ or contradicts Christ is Antichrist. We've all been Antichrist, haven't we? And that's in how you live. If a man that confesses or professes he knows God and he works, he denies him. So it's what we do that is Antichrist. You can be Antichrist as a believer going to church. the Antichrist is not any such thing. Antichrist is only mentioned in 1st and 2nd John. That's the only place you find it. It's not mentioned in Revelation, not mentioned in Daniel. Most people seem to think they are one and the same. What does God have to say about this? Thanks for the answer. Gopin Fleo, Tony Orkin. Well, you've got other titles for him. You've got, he's called the King of Fierce Countenance, and these titles he gave him here, or God gave him. If the President and the Federal Reserve can temporarily fix the economic problems of the world, he will become the most popular world leader of modern time. Nobody's going to fix it. They're going to pretend to fix it. That is what he will have the power to change laws concerning the preaching of the true gospel of Jesus Christ. He will have the authority of the United Nations. Well, they're already changing times and laws. Calling evil good and good evil. Travis Humble from Louisiana. Thank you, Pastor Jim, for the message you preach with plainness. I love the true message of predestination and the sovereignty of God, but it also causes me great pain. I am full of pride, strife. The greatest of these is pride of life. I worry what others will think of me, and I say this to my shame. I face the enemy in Iraq without fear, but I can't seem to face my neighbor nor face a daily cross. Well, you can't pick up a cross and carry it when you become a baby. If you're a young believer, don't expect more of yourself than you're able to do. And this has nothing to do with age, with chronological age in life. This has to do with how much you're growing. A cross comes from telling the truth, but if you don't learn the truth, you're not going to be able to carry one. And some people learn slower than others. And some mothers got kids, and they're not able to learn as much, not able to run across as many people. But you'll have a cross of some kind along the way. People condemn you just for telling your neighbor that we don't do Christmas anymore. If they say, Merry Christmas, you're going to have a good Christmas? Well, we quit doing it. They may not say anything else, just get mad and walk away and huff and puff and give you a hard time at times. I say this to my shame. I want to do good, but I can't seem to get over the mountain of myself. Well, you are getting over it if you admit this. You're starting to. I feel like a wretched slug and split in two over all this. I know there has come a time in my life where I start obeying God and begin conforming to His will, and I will surely die and go to hell. Well, God grant me the will to do this because I don't have it. I don't fit in with anyone. That's a common phrase of all the elect. I don't fit in. I never have. His word's been written in our hearts, and we heard a preacher preach, and it lit up our hearts and our lives, and we say, I believe that. And we realized that we were loners as we were growing up until we found our family. Don't y'all feel that way? Until you found that you had a family that believed like you believe. When I'm with the world, I go home and suffer inside with my thoughts. Yet true believers could not accept my worldly ways, and rightly so. Even though I've never met any of you, you all there at Grace and Truth are the only people I know that understand. When you say true believers don't accept you, they're not true believers. If you hadn't been able to find anybody that believes the truth, then they're not true believers. They're a bunch of churchy people and call themselves Christians, go down to the big Church of Christ, the big Baptist church, and don't know the truth. I need to be around true believers and be accountable. God willing, I hope I can move up there one day. Travis, I got so many of these. I'll save a couple of these for tonight, and then I'll just read a couple other things that we've got mail. I got a stack of people have been calling, lots of people. And just to let you know, some of them, I'll just read their names, and I won't read much more here because we got so much. I got a call from Renee Washington, Halifax, Virginia. Well, this is something else. Brian Henson, Charlotte, North Carolina. Rhonda up in Michigan called us. And just concerned about things in life. And Andrea Payton from Charlotte, Chris Dugman from New London, North Carolina, and Ed Mayberry, Gallatin, Tennessee. Larry Hall, Hendersonville. Been watching a while and says he wants to come see us. Wilson Broyles Jr., Greenbrier. Patricia Hugh has called us. Claudia somebody. June Canada. She hadn't called us in a while. Carl McCullough, Franklin, Tennessee. Flora Evans, Garland, Texas. Louis Perez, Austin, Texas. Bill Spivey, Beaumont. Keith Elkey, up in Indiana. Veronica Morgan, Highland Heights, Kentucky. Fred Moley, Austin, Texas. Allie Blevins, Guthrie, Oklahoma. These people watch us on TV. Linda Corbin, Oklahoma City. Charlotte Dorr, Tulsa. Olin White in Carbondale, Pennsylvania. Michael Bates called. He's a regular listener down in Alabama, I guess. Georgia, okay. Laverna Badsarwansanan. She's in Temple, Texas. Stephen Murphy, Charlotte, North Carolina. Andrew Hill, from somewhere. Rick Jenkins, out in Oklahoma. Ophelia DeCina, Floral Park, New York. Graylin Carter, St. Paul, Minnesota. And John Cully, Indianapolis. Bruce Coleman, St. Anthony, New York. Robert Foggy, Bronx, New York. Relva, somebody from somewhere. No address. Someone from Luling, Louisiana called. And Jackie Tony, Cincinnati, Ohio. And Riley, somebody from Oklahoma City. And I'll read the rest of these later. That'll be enough. There's just lots of folks contacting us. All right. I always remind you to watch us on TV every Monday night, Saturday night at 10 o'clock. And in Nashville, also on Wednesday morning, Friday morning, midnight, and then every Thursday night on Channel 49 on Comcast. We're on channel at 11 o'clock. And if you're in Hendersonville, Tuesday evening at 5, Thursday night at 7 on Channel 3. Radio every Saturday morning. And there's plenty of access to this message, and we got lots of people calling. I'd like to remind you of our needy. Please help the needy. I'm giving away every card you give, and I'm needing more. These are people that watch and listen that are just barely getting by. I give cards to certain few people here in the congregation every week, and then I give we send cards to Patricia Donaldson and down to Sheila Wells and to several others around the country that are just struggling just to stay afloat. I mean, if you had to probably go live with some of them for a week, you'd really appreciate that they love this truth. And if you want to give food cards, you can stop by Walmart, or you can get MasterCards or Visa cards for $25 or $50, and it really helps them. I have one lady calls me about the first of the month, says, "Jim, we're just struggling to stay alive. Is there any possible way you can send a card or two?" So I always, of course, I'd send it anyway the first of the month. And they need our help. They are our needy, and they're people that are not bums. They just can't hardly live. They just don't have a way. And my heart is really with people like that. So if God deals with your heart just a little bit along the way, helps these people. And we also have a food pantry for the people that are locally struggling. at the house. And if you want to bring some spaghetti or spaghetti sauce or canned meat or canned fruit or these kind of things, you can bring it and put it under this table over here. You can come over to the house on Friday night and bring it. We appreciate it. I just believe in helping the poor. That's one of the greatest indictments against Israel, that they oppress the widow and the orphan in the Old Testament. Of course, when they're going after Baal in the grove, if you're not believing God, you're not going to do His laws in any area. So, but remember our missionaries down in South America, in Ecuador. They've got while all the rest of the world is collapsing around us, it looks like it's going to collapse. Theirs has already collapsed. They're down there facing the Catholic Church. They're facing these heathens in this village where they live, and the local government and the state government, and they need our help. So if you want to give to the Ecuador Mission Trust, you write a check to Grace and Truth and put at the bottom Ecuador Ministry, or just put missionaries, and this will go directly to them. They need our help. They're building a school so they can teach the natives down there. And they're having to start with their children. And I don't know how in the world you have that kind of commitment to go overseas. I don't want to go to a jungle where there's big snakes and natives that might kill you. Do you? Did you want to go? Oh, okay. Just wondering. That's a tough place to. That's a calling, is what it is. And they preach predestination, election, and all these truths, and daily cross and death to self to these folks. Do we have any visitors that haven't been here? I don't see any. Nobody had been here. All right. Well, let's go to the Lord in prayer, and no announcements you can think of, Mary. A lot of times nobody's sick. Probably a lot of people sick in Nashville, but none of our people.
Got our chili coming up.
Oh yeah, our chili cookout is down here at the park, down here by the tennis courts. That'll be October the 29th. That's just a few weeks away, and we have a good time. It's cold, and the chili's good. And come and join us. Bring your chili. Bring whatever you want to bring, a cake or bring chili cake. Did you do that? Right. All right.
Cell phones off.
Huh?
Cell phones off.
Yeah, turn your cell phones off. Who is that?
What's the paper right here?
Die.
Cutting it off.
Oh, were you cutting it off? Oh, it was you. I was wondering. If it happens during this church, I'm going.
Hello?
I'm going. I mean, I literally, when the phone rings in church, my mind cuts off. Have you ever, anybody's ever taught? Anybody's ever taught? What happens when you teach and something happens out in the class? Don't you go, you just go, you don't even know where you were, do you?
So don't do that.
There's a teacher, and she'll tell you. You go, it's like, you're teaching, it's like, what's going on? Where am I? Because that goes, zeroes in, you know. It's happened a bunch of times. Somehow I find my way back. Somehow. All right, well, let's go to the Lord in prayer.